Have you ever watched your cat stare intently at a completely empty corner of the room, their eyes wide, their tail twitching with an invisible rhythm? Or perhaps you've invited a new friend over, someone you thought was perfectly nice, only for your normally affectionate feline to arch its back, hiss, and retreat under the sofa. It leaves you wondering, what do they know that we don't? Is it just a quirky animal behavior, or is there something much deeper going on? Can cats actually sense evil in a person? The symphony of the super senses. Before we can understand if cats can sense evil, we have to understand how they experience the world. Humans are primarily visual creatures, but a cat's world is a rich, complex symphony of scents, sounds, and vibrations. Their sensory apparatus is essentially a highly tuned biological radar. Consider their sense of smell. A cat has up to 200 million odor-sensitive cells in its nose, compared to a measly 5 million in humans. But that's not all. They possess a hidden weapon called the Jacobson's organ, located in the roof of their mouth. When a cat opens its mouth slightly and curls its lip, a behavior known as the Feline response, they are actually drawing air into this organ to analyze complex chemical signatures, particularly pheromones. They aren't just smelling you, they are reading your chemical makeup. This means that while a person might be smiling and speaking softly, hiding their true intentions, their body is betraying them on a microscopic level. The scent of bad intentions. So what happens when someone harbors malicious intent, hidden aggression, or deep-seated anxiety? The human body reacts. When a person is harboring negative, aggressive, or deceptive thoughts, they often experience a spike in adrenaline and cortisol. Their heart rate increases, their blood pressure rises, and their sweat glands activate, even if it's completely imperceptible to human eyes and noses. We call it bad vibes, but to a cat, it is a very real, very pungent chemical cocktail. They can literally smell the physical manifestations of aggression or fear. When a cat suddenly acts defensive around a stranger who seems perfectly polite to you, the cat isn't necessarily looking into the person's soul and seeing evil. Instead, the cat's phenomenal olfactory system is being bombarded by stress hormones and chemical signals that scream danger. The person's biological state is contradicting their outward behavior, and cats, being the ultimate survivors, do not trust a contradiction. Masters of the micro-expressions. Beyond their sense of smell, cats are absolute masters of observing body language. Because they are both predators and prey in the wild, their survival depends on their ability to instantly assess the threat level of any creature that enters their territory. They pay intense attention to micro-expressions, the fleeting, involuntary facial movements that reveal true emotions before the conscious mind can conceal them. A person with bad intentions might force a friendly smile, but their eyes might be hard, their jaw might be slightly clenched, or their posture might be rigid and tense. Humans often miss these subtle cues because we are easily distracted by what the person is saying. Cats do not care about human words. They care about movement, tension, and gaze. If a visitor enters your home moving too rigidly, making prolonged and aggressive eye contact, or attempting to mask their own anxiety, your cat registers these thousands of tiny red flags immediately. The empathy equation. You might have heard the old myth that cats are aloof and indifferent to human emotions, but modern science and behavioral studies have thoroughly debunked this. Cats are actually highly empathetic creatures, but they express it entirely differently than dogs. While a dog might rush in to lick the tears of a crying owner, a cat might silently sit nearby, acting as a quiet, watchful sentry. They are incredibly attuned to the emotional baseline of their household. They know what your normal smells like, what your relaxed posture looks like, and what your calm voice sounds like. When an outsider enters the home and disrupts that baseline, perhaps by bringing in chaotic energy, suppressed anger, or hostile intent, the cat registers these thousands of tiny red flags immediately. In just a few moments, we'll dive into exactly why you should pay close attention when your cat suddenly decides they despise your new romantic partner.
Hearing the unspoken truth. Let's talk about their hearing. A cat's ears are absolute marvels of biological engineering. They can rotate independently up to 180 degrees, operating like satellite dishes scanning the room for anomalies. They can hear frequencies far above the range of human hearing, catching the high-pitched sounds of a mouse inside a wall or the faint rustle of an insect in the grass. But how does this relate to sensing a bad person? It all comes down to heartbeats and breathing. When a person is acting deceptively or suppressing dark intentions, their biological rhythms inevitably change. Their breathing might become shallower or slightly erratic. Their heart rate might elevate as they lie or scheme. While a human standing 3 feet away cannot hear another person's heart beating slightly faster due to malicious excitement or nervous deception, a cat in the quiet environment of a living room very well might. They perceive the biological dissonance. The person is acting calm and collected, but their heart and lungs are acting like they are preparing for a fight. The trust filter, when your cat hates your date. We've all heard the stories, or perhaps experienced them firsthand. You bring someone new into your life, a new romantic partner, a new roommate, or a new friend. To you, this person is charming, funny, and seemingly perfect. But your normally sweet, purring tabby takes one look at them, hisses, completely fluffs up their tail, and refuses to enter the same room. Often, we laugh it off and apologize for the cat, assuming they are just being temperamental or territorial. But time and time again, stories emerge of that exact charming person later revealing a toxic, manipulative, or even abusive personality. Did the cat possess a psychic ability to foresee the future? No, but the cat was not blinded by the person's charisma, their attractive appearance, or their flattering words. The cat simply processed the raw, unfiltered data, the chemical smell of deception, the tense micro-movements of a predator, the erratic heartbeat of someone hiding their true self. The cat acted as an unbiased, highly sensitive biological lie detector.
The vibration of the room. There's another layer to this feline awareness, one that borders on the metaphysical but is entirely grounded in physics. Everything in the universe, including humans, emits energy and vibrations. When someone is angry, resentful, or harboring dark thoughts, their physical movements fundamentally change. They step heavier, they set objects down with more force, their gestures are sharper and more aggressive. Cats have specialized nerve endings in their paws and whiskers that are incredibly sensitive to these vibrations in their environment. They can feel the heavy, tense footsteps of an angry person vibrating through the floorboards long before that person ever speaks a word. They can feel the displacement of air when a person makes sudden, aggressive hand gestures. To a cat, evil or bad intent isn't a moral failing, it is a physical disturbance in their environment. It is loud, smelly, and vibrating with a dangerous frequency. Confirmation bias versus feline intuition. Of course, we must be careful not to fall into the trap of confirmation bias. Sometimes a cat hates your new friend simply because that friend smells strongly of another cat or wears a perfume with citrus notes, which cats naturally despise. Sometimes a person might simply be terrified of cats, and their intense fear releases pheromones that make the cat defensive in return. not every single hiss means the mailman is a secret supervillain in disguise. However, when you eliminate the obvious factors like loud noises, strange perfumes, or the scent of other animals, and your cat still displays a profound, uncharacteristic aversion to a specific individual, it is absolutely worth paying attention. Your cat has evolved over millions of years to identify threats in order to survive. Their survival instincts are significantly sharper than our human social graces.
So, can they actually sense evil? If we define evil as a mystical, supernatural aura, then the answer is probably no. Cats are not reading a glowing red aura of dark magic floating above someone's head like in a fantasy movie. But if we define evil as malicious intent, hidden aggression, deceitfulness, and dangerous psychological instability, then the answer is a resounding yes. They sense the physical fallout of those negative traits. They smell the stress. They see the tension. They hear the deceit. And they feel the threat. They are the ultimate biological lie detectors, stripped of all human bias and social conditioning. So the next time your sweet, loving feline suddenly turns into a snarling ball of fur when a specific person enters the room, don't just lock the cat away and apologize. Take a moment. Observe that person closely. Ask yourself what your cat is seeing, smelling, and hearing that you might be missing.